do you think of the baking championships this year?
Well, I think they're going to be off the hook. The Halloween baking championships is what we watch, so we recommend it.
And they're getting better every single year.
We're on season
and it
10.
gets so hard. It's already hard to see to let them go at this point, and there's still like 7 people left, and oh my gosh, it's so stressful.
First year or two, there's a lot of amateurs right there. Now
it's not even close.
Off the hook.
I know, it's off the hook.
Yeah,
off the.
It makes you want to bake, and then we watch the kids one, I think, and then we watch the Christmas one coming.
I know it makes me want to bake, but then I know that I'll never be able to do what they do.
Yeah.
So I just eat other baked goods.
Well, we can try
while
it.
We're watching it.
I've been wanting to try it. They got the recipes online.
I know. We need to look that up for sure.
There's some recipes they let loose.
Hello. How are you?
I'm okay.
Making it?
I'm
getting through?
Making it when you can make it. Why not?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Teacher's Curse podcast. I'm Annie.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're the Leather Barrows. We are a married couple who also run an education-based business in Great Falls, Montana called Go and Grow Education Services, which is kind of the premise of this podcast, to share with the world, anybody who's listening, about kind of what we're seeing and what we go through and running a business while also being married and making that work and what that looks like. So
having a child
and raising
a
6-year-old. And we're so grateful that you tuned in to listen. We're hoping that this can run for a really, really long time, because there's always a lot of stories that are coming out that we want to share with you guys. So thank you so much for being here.
Welcome to the Teacher's Curse.
Welcome to the Teacher's Curse. To start off the podcast in general, I thought that it would be a good idea to give our listeners a background on how Go and Grow got started. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's very important, because we almost died during that whole entire time, figuratively, because we,
it's hard. Anytime you are starting a business, it is so hard.
Yeah.
And it takes so much courage. It takes so much sacrifice of the things that you think that you're comfortable with and, that you're secure in. And it's by far the most challenging thing that I've had to experience in my life. I don't know if you'd say the same thing, but for me, it was
right up there with cancer.
You think it's up there with cancer?
Yeah. You're getting ready to live out of a cardboard box. Okay. I was living in a cardboard box then, but it's a different kind of illness.
And then to add another layer to it, running it with your spouse, because we get all the time, oh my gosh, I could never work with my husband or wife or...
It's terrible.
And it is not terrible.
We love it. Spouse, yes, we love it. Yes.
But that's probably because we work together first. And that probably helped.
Well, yeah.
Where we could separate it, especially in the beginning. It was very much like work Kevin and Annie and then home Kevin and Annie.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of unique, because you and I really enjoy working together.
We do.
And it's so important to, and I said before when we were getting ready to get married, by the way, we just celebrated our 5th year anniversary, our 5th year marriage anniversary.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
I got forced into it because she kept saying, I'm his girlfriend, when people started walking into the business.
It was a business move.
It was definitely, but it wasn't.
It's not professional to say, and here's my boyfriend who I run a business with.
Right. That's right. I mean, come on. No, it was well, dude. We were dating for 5 years or so. So I mean, whatever. I was gonna say we were going a long time.
On the one hand, I go, oh my gosh, 5 years goes by so fast, and I can't believe everything that can change in 5 years. And then on the other hand, I feel like we've been married for 50.
Wow. No, I put a lot of stress on that. I understand that. I do.
Listeners will understand as this podcast takes off.
I totally understand.
But kind of an interesting fact is we got married in the building that Go and Grow operates out of. And there is definitely a story behind that. But we we had just moved in there, and I don't know if you remember me being like, I don't know, it seems kind of like we're encroaching, but it
I
worked
didn't
out
care.
so beautifully. I
Yes.
know you're like, he'll be fine.
No, don't worry about it.
It worked out so beautifully, and I love that picture, the one that I chose to post on Facebook to commemorate it. Is my favorite picture in the world. Just the one of you and I looking at each other being like, okay, like here we go. But in the back is our picture that says great things take time to grow.
Yeah.
And that has been with us since we opened.
Yeah.
So that sign's important to me.
Well, I mean, to leave them hanging, we had 12 inches of snow on that day. It was supposed to be, this great thing. And to Anne's credit, it's been 80 ever since. Every year after
every year, it's been a perfect day.
It's been perfect fall day. We both love fall. Fall is our both, and that's good. I mean, we both love fall. But Montana, and I grew up in a place where it could snow that day too. So
yeah,
man, and it got us. But so
yeah, it worked out. It was great. When we were getting ready to get married, I said, boy, like entering into a business partnership feels like it's a lot more dire than a marriage. I don't know if that's a backwards way of looking at it, but that's kind of how I felt. Like, oh my gosh, when we're compiling all of our assets in the sense of a business,
yeah,
that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, it is.
It's like this needs to work. So it's
right.
The marriage we'll figure out, come hell or high water. But like, man. So the beginning of Go and Grow, what's your first memory of how this came to be?
I was sitting at a previous job, and I was disgusted about what I was seeing about, not really helping children in a meaningful way outside of school or anything else. And
because we had come from Utah. Oh, well, we'd come from teaching jobs on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. Yeah. Previously, we'll talk about Utah in a whole different episode. We were kind of working odd jobs.
Yeah, we're working odd jobs because we came in. I mean,
still trying to work with kids, but
you were even working for the sheriff's department.
I was. Yeah, that was my first job here, and then
so that's what got us here, and then that didn't last very long, and boy, I wonder why.
Yeah, none of the jobs lasted very long.
No, because we were like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm from a small town.
And we weren't doing what we wanted to do.
No, we weren't doing what we wanted to do. And I think that was the bottom line. We know we're the best of the best. And we're losing our talent somewhere else. And it didn't sit well with me. Right? It didn't sit well with you. And
right.
Our background is IEPs, individual education plans. And we know them inside and out and know how to write them. And somebody had asked for us to advocate for them, and we did. And that was the kind of kickoff of the idea of, okay, maybe Go and Grow can go somewhere. We had other names though.
Yeah, it wasn't even Go and Grow yet.
Wasn't even Go and Grow yet.
Yeah. My very first memory of it, I remember we were just having a conversation about what do we want the future to look like? Do we want to continue with teaching? What's that going to look like if we do? And you had said, you said, I can envision that there is the school and I can direct it and the teachers get along and there's a really great atmosphere and the kids are going to be at the top of everything. And you just like went into this mode where I was like, whoa, he's serious. He's serious about this. Like he really feels that. And, I probably said something like, well, let's make that happen. How do we make that happen?
And that's a bad thing when you get the okay, like, for me, that is like.
Yeah, because you go all
boom.
Out.
Yeah,
with everything.
There's no half.
Right.
Right. If I'm passionate about it, get out of the way. Yeah. There's nothing. And we try to instill that in our students too when they come to us. When you have an idea, you're hungry enough, you can go and do that. And granted, we have master's degrees and we're educated in that manner, but if they can work, we try to give that to them too. Like if you can work up to that, you can do anything you want.
And I always have said that Go and Grow really kind of created itself. that it was just kind of this, it was like this idea in a Pandora's box type thing,
Yes.
you know, and it was just like needing to be let out. And once we released that and said, okay, well, let's see if we can do it, it really just kind of became its own
Right.
entity that we were in charge of being its caretakers almost, it felt like.
Yeah, and that saying people always say, good businesses grow themselves. You don't, and you got to trust that,
Yeah.
right? And
Because if
you
there's a
don't believe
need
it until you do it,
and you're trying to fill that need,
right?
then the business is going to grow.
Right.
So we had our first kind of little planning session at that store, and I can't remember the name of it. Listeners, if you're in Great Falls, I know that you know the store. It was like a coffee shop slash bookshop slash movie
Yeah, it
music
wasn't a Barnes and
store.
Nobles.
No, but it was something like that. It was kind of a more local thing. And we had gone and just like had our laptop there, and we were sitting down and saying, okay, whoa, what would this kind of look like? And it really just started out as, you know, tutoring, because we were tutoring students in the back room by that point, and just kind of on a, well, you were.
Right.
And we said, gosh, how can we actually grow this into a real tutoring business? And we kind of came to the name, and I said, well, what are you thinking for the name? And you had said, the only thing that really sticks out to me is Go and Grow.
Right.
Because that's a very personal name to you.
Right. It was my mom's business back east. It was my mom's pre-K back in Lancaster, New York. I do believe distant family members or friends right now still own that, but it's a preschool slash daycare kind of thing, a majigger. So my mom created Go and Grow. She was an elementary teacher, and in her lower grades, she wasn't seeing children excel the way that they should. So my mom and three others of my family members decided, well, we're gonna start Go and Grow, and that's what they did for the community. And I still modeled the business after it. My mom never turned anybody down, you know, and it didn't matter where what your needs were, and she was for profit, and so I grew up there. I'd go home from school and I'd have to walk to Go and Grow because my mom, you know, did that, or I got dropped off because they went to like 6:00 in the evening.
How long did you have to do that for? Were you doing that as a teenager too?
I started to be able to walk away from it at that age.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I got a little older there, you know, I was like, you know, mom gets it. I'd hop on the bike and bye. And there's a creek that runs right behind her loaded with smallmouth.
Huh.
So where it was. So
you were gone.
And she knew she couldn't hold me back from the water, you know. But yeah, as I got older, she didn't. I'd still stop in. You know, obviously, I needed money. Well, Mom, I still need money. I need gas money. I'm 16.
Chase the kids around and
yeah, go sit down and read to them.
You're like, no.
What are you talking about?
Mom, come on.
Mom, can't do that. Oh yes, you will. You want this $10? Okay, fine. But we'd help her clean and my aunts and stuff like that. So that's how Go and Grow still stayed. And when we lost her, I lost her young. She was 56 and I was young, and I was, you know, too young to go. How do you honor your mom? You know, says, well, you've ever been a teacher. Why don't you go back to school? Don't lose your parents listen to them all the time. Okay. Because
they're right.
Because they're right. Okay. And
even in death, they're right.
Oh yeah, it talks in my head all the time. Right. So, you know, and that's how Go and Grow kind of, and we were worried too because we wanted the older kids too, and we wouldn't think that they would come to Go and Grow. You know, I mean, that is a younger name.
I remember you were concerned about that.
I was concerned about that, and that's how it took off. And then you were working for the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
When I was putting it together. Yeah. And every day she would come home, she'd go, get another client, no call. Get another client. And by this time, I was starting to rent buildings, and I rented a little place over, and by
so we moved it out of our house.
Yeah, my son was getting a little old for that.
Yeah,
because it would be
Junior was getting a little tired of having people in this house all the time, which is fair.
Yeah, no, it's fair. It's a family thing. You know, so just inside office.
I don't know if we were really keen on the idea either. It's just what we had to do at the time.
Mm-hmm. I found a cheap place that just had a couch outside in the waiting area and a one-room shindig.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's see. So by that point we'd had a couple clients, and I guess we need to tell the hotel hot tub story.
Oh boy.
Because of that particular client is really what kind of made Go and Grow launch into what it is today.
Yeah, because we were kind of so before the client came, we were a local hotel area here.
My mom was visiting
right. Yep.
from Utah, and we went over just to have pool time and hang out
hang out with mom.
Yeah, and we're hanging out in the hot tub, and there's a couple in there, and they're talking about, ask, hey, what do you do? And you just confidently are like, I run a tutoring business, and it's like barely off the ground, but you're just like, that's what I do. I'm an educator. And she said, oh, my granddaughter could really use some help. She's right over there, because they had their whole family over there jumping in the pool and stuff. And she said, go talk to her dad, my son, and see if you can make something happen. So Kevin gets out
of the hot tub.
You get out of the hot tub. I'm sitting next to my mom, and she says, what is he doing? And I'm like, he's going to go get a client. And she says, no, he's not. I was like, no, he probably will. Watch this. And we're watching him, and pretty soon we see like this handshake, and pointing like, all right, I'll talk to you later. And you come over and you're like, yeah, he's coming in, whatever, Monday.
Yeah, we'll talk Monday. Yep.
And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, you're in your bathing suit.
I don't look too good in a bathing suit.
So funny. It was so funny. But because of that client, so they had come to us for a couple months, and she started showing improvement, and you allowed her to kind of explore these topics that she wanted to research, and made her write to those. And she started to do a lot better really quickly. And he had said, gosh, I wish that you could just teach my daughter all the time, just be my daughter's teacher.
It's like, boom.
Yeah, it was like a total light bulb. And we said, gosh, let's see what that would look like.
Yeah.
And that's how our homeschool program was born. So because of that, then the other clients that we had at the time
started filtering over.
Yeah, started coming over to the homeschool program.
Yep.
And then it was like wildfire, because we had to move office buildings 3 times in a year.
Yeah, about that. About that. Yeah, we climbed pretty quickly.
Yeah, and when we were in the Times Square building,
because we were tutoring and now having the homeschooling, so we were there.
We were doing both.
Yeah, till 6 o'clock. So it started booming there. Started like taking off. And this was before COVID. This is this is before COVID, and we're still advocating IEPs in the school district too.
Yes, that was a big part of it, was going in, and we can kind of circle back around to that, because that's how we met some of the school administrators and other teachers in town. Was doing that, and also where we realized that we were not very welcome in opening this business in Great Falls, and we felt that pretty heavily right off the bat, but we continued on anyway. And when we were in the Times Square building, it really got to a point where we were busting at the seams. Like, we weren't able to
we had to make a move.
Yeah, kids weren't able to move around. And we just so happened to see a posting for the kidney bean tables for smaller kids, because we were starting to get a lot more elementary schoolers coming in too. So we're like, gosh, we need for little people to sit. And we went to the building where those were being held, and it was an old daycare. Yep. So that's why he was selling the furniture. And we said, hey, we want to come look at the tables. And we walked into that building, and I'll never forget it, because both you and I looked at each other, and we were just like, whoa, this is...
What are you going to do with this place?
Yeah, we were supposed to come here.
Right.
It was so palpable.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, so, we asked, but it was so... The inside needed to be totally redone.
There was boogers on the wall still.
Every door was a different color of the rainbow.
Right.
It needed a total overhaul. The floors were gross. This, that, and the other.
So we offered to paint it, and we offered to do the work.
Yeah.
And help them out
to make
and get it get it back where we need it to be.
Yeah, and make it a little more affordable for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just it was one of those moments, one of those few moments in life where you go, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, and our landlord, our guy who we rent from, has tried to get her other buildings, and she will
I
not
don't want to move from it.
She doesn't want
He
to move
agrees
from
with
it.
me. He likes that building too.
I do, but right.
No, our landlord likes it. He agrees with me not moving out of it.
Well, of course.
So yeah, so that was kind of the end of that. We, struck a deal. He really loved what we were doing. And said God, his sister, right? Could have used, did he have a sister that was special needs?
Right.
You know
right,
what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And that's the story he shared.
Yeah. So what we were doing was, really cool. And so we take in atypicals, but our specialty is special education and autism on the spectrum, stuff like that. So we really kind of go in that direction.
Yeah. So that brought us to the building that we're in now, that we were later married in. A few months later, we were married in it, and then we've been in it ever since. And I know it's been a great little building, and I love it. But we've put a lot of, it's sentimental. Yeah, and that's the shortened version. Why don't you talk a little bit about when we first had to go into the schools to advocate for IEP purposes?
Oh boy. So I got one of my first ones, and I said, they had asked me, hey, could you look at the IEP? And now there's strict rules with IEPs. There's a formula. And
because of IDA law.
Because of the IDA law. Right. So this parent was very concerned about the services and things of that nature and whatever, and they've had this thing in place for quite a long time, a couple of years, whichever. So I had looked at it, and this is just before they were about to sign too, and they line this whole thing. Now we come from where I only need the ELA teacher, and I only need maybe
right. We'd have the LEA, we'd have the principal,
right,
and then the parent,
right.
And then just the classroom
counselor.
teacher.
The counselor was there too.
Yeah.
And like a counselor or whatever, a speech pathologist or anything like that.
Minimal.
Right? Minimal, right?
And sometimes the speech pathologist would just come in, do their thing, and leave.
This thing, the first one I went to it was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was packed with all of these, and that's good. However, you kind of feel intimidated as a parent because you don't know the language, you don't know what's going on, and so the first one I went into,
we both went into. We were both together for that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. Is that? Yeah, I think I shut that one down.
No, not yet.
Okay.
No, we had walked in, and that was because we got there before the parent did.
Oh, right.
So we walked in, and they all looked at us like, "Who are you?" And we explained that we had been tutoring the student, and we'd been working with her, and we've written quite a few IEPs, and mom has asked us to just come be part of the process.
Right.
And it was stone cold in there. I'll never forget that.
They needed a jacket.
They wouldn't lift their eyes.
Nope.
It was just okay.
It was odd because we're used to our doors being open for IEPs back in Utah and other places.
Right. The more help you can get, it's great. Right. Yeah. Come in and tell us what you're seeing.
And that's IDA law. Parents, you can have an advocate come in. Anybody who's working with a child or has an understanding of education and has master's degrees or
anybody you want on the IEP team can be on the IEP team.
You enter them onto the IEP team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they can come in and sit and advocate.
Mm-hmm.
So, that one was weird. And
so, that was the one where we had tried to, I think that was the crying session. Was that one?
And
that was pretty immediate, and we were
right, because I said we're not going to finish this IEP, we're not going to do it.
Right, we told mom not to sign it if you're not happy with it, and any parent, if you do not like your IEP or you do not understand it, do not sign it.
Don't sign it.
Don't sign it. They can rewrite it as many times until you are happy with it and you are comfortable with it.
Right.
And I think a lot of parents don't know that.
No, they don't. They get kind of pushed a little bit. And it's also supposed to be for the students to understand. So a student's supposed to be in there. She was old enough. This student was old enough to be in there. but whatever, big deal or not. I mean, I think it is, so they know what their goals are and what the IEP says, and then they can go back to class.
Yeah, as much as the child can be involved in the
Yep,
IEP process, they're supposed
They're
to be.
supposed to be. Yeah, they should be. Okay. So that's when I said, well, we're going to revisit this again, or whichever, and then teachers started crying.
And we went, oh boy, we're going to not be popular.
Yeah, it's good. It wasn't that I'm like, well, she hasn't made any progress. These goals cannot.
Right, like it's nothing personal.
No,
it's just
goals weren't meaningful. They weren't.
We need to try something different.
Something different has to be right.
This kid is not reading, and that's
wipe out, man.
Yeah,
like wipe out. Like I'm like, who's the professional around here? The kid. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah,
so
it was the second meeting on that when the director essentially
Dale this Dale when Dale showed up. Yeah. The superintendent of special ed
pretty much dismissed everybody.
Yeah.
And said,
we walked in, we got it.
Kevin's got it.
Kevin's got it. We're good.
I'll never forget you telling me that story because I said, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And boy, was I right. They were not happy with us at all. And we have had, we've had to fight a lot of stuff since then.
Yeah.
Since that very first meeting.
Yeah, we shouldn't have.
But also in the same respect, we have been in other IEP meetings where the what's going on in there is not correct.
No,
it's not okay.
It's not acceptable.
You know, we've sat with some of the counselors who refuse to kind of listen to mom. So we started, there were a lot of these things that started piling up for us. And then we really started we were getting it before in the early days of Go and Grow, but then we really started getting a wave of parents who were so frustrated, didn't know what to do. Their kids couldn't do basic academics. No. Their behavior was out of control. And the parents were just so disheartened and said, I need something different for my kid.
Yeah. And we you know what's funny is we started Go and Grow to put ourselves out of a job. I mean, that was kind of our motto. We're like, okay, well, we want these kids to succeed. We want them to be in schools. We want them to be where they're going. And I mean, of course, you're always going to be needed, but that goal is to make sure that every kid can read, math, everything, and function socially in science, whatever.
Yeah. So families can move on, but the kids can function.
We didn't realize how much we were going to help families. We had no clue of. I mean, schools were calling parents to take their kids home daily.
Yeah.
Daily. So we would say, okay, well, why don't you bring them into us for a year? Let us try to see if we can help the child, and then we'll work with the school, hopefully, to get them back where they need to be, and work with this program that would go back and forth.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
I still remember the first time a parent came in and said, it's like you gave me my life back, and we were like, whoa. That's we didn't.
Yeah, I think we still have one of those students. I think he's still there.
We just wanted to make sure kids could, read and write and do what we're good at, what we're educated in doing, and then it's been able to be so much more. And you're a big part of that because you're very gifted in a lot of things outside of English education or even just elementary education,
yes.
In your, understanding of child psychology. And would you say that that's due more to you studying it or due more to you having lived it yourself?
Lived it. Studying amplified it. Like going to school and trying to understand me. But that just amplified it. I was so hungry to learn what was wrong with my brain.
What was wrong with your brain?
Oh, I'm dyslexic and ADHD diagnosed, whatever, professionally or whatever. And it's completely true. So, going through life where your mother buys you the latest technology to go fill out a job application. I had one of those first spell checkers. Yeah. So bought me one of those so I can go to a job because you didn't fill it out online.
Thank you, Mr. Spell.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Yeah. It was made by Texas Instruments. It was big, wasn't right, and it was embarrassing. Number one, right? So a lot of times I'd ask, can I take the application home, or can you do things differently, right? So, boy, do I know how it feels to be in their shoes, but I don't accept quitting.
Because a lot of behaviors that I think teachers in general are struggling with come from confidence issues.
Oh, for sure.
In being able to achieve academics, keep up with the class, understand what the heck's going on. If they're missing that piece, then we start to really see the behaviors coming out.
Yeah.
Which is why we always say at Go and Grow, like, we're going to build the confidence first.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can take a while.
Yeah.
If
we always say like 6 months, but for some reason we start it when they hit that structure. We're very structured where we are.
There's some kids where it's like right away.
It's like an immediate change.
Okay. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm expected to do something. Okay.
Right. Because again, you don't have somebody walking away from you. We're right there.
Right.
Yes. Well, you can't slip through anything.
This class doesn't end in 10 minutes. There's no. Yeah, you're not going to be switching teachers. Like, it's you and me, kid, for 3 hours. So it can either be miserable or we can figure it out. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's usually pretty good, but so it's a very big mix about how I understand psychology and when you reach the upper levels of education, you don't want to say you get to mess with kids, but you get to mess with them.
Experiment.
Yeah. And I took so many psychology classes and so many whichever, but
in an ethical way.
Yeah. Well, my college would have them bring them in and parents would have to sign a waiver. And I was one of them. I actually threw my kids in there. They were going to college with me in school and whatever else.
Yeah.
And we'd be able to observe them. And we did a lot of observations and you got to test your hypothesis on children on how they would react to things. And then you test it out in the field because you're in the field.
Which is why the first time that I was actually working in one of your classrooms, you didn't have me do anything for the first week. You said, I want you to sit there and I want you to watch how they are.
Every demeanor.
Right.
I want you to learn. And
that was huge.
Yeah, well, and again, that was 3 or 4 ninth grade classes and 3 or 4 10th grade classes, each with 28 kids in it, ballpark. Just sit and watch the kids. Yeah, I think the other parents got mad at her.
I was like, are you sure?
All the other assistants, they get mad.
But no, halfway through the week, and I'm starting to predict what the kids are going to do before they do it already. And I'm like, oh, that's why he's making me watch them, because you have to know.
One step ahead.
You have so that you can be one step ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know that's a luxury item to be able to have an assistant where you're like, just sit back and watch them. But
yeah, you
huge.
Yeah, you paras out there, and all those assistants that work with all those, kudos to you guys, okay? And when we do need you,
paras are so important. Good paras are so important.
Yeah.
And I wish that, and this can be a topic for a future podcast, but you know how I feel about, I believe there needs to be para-to-teacher programs put into place.
Sure,
and it just boggles my mind that there isn't.
The whole different other discussion on that one, so we'll get back on that one.
Yeah.
So learning, and I guess having the confidence, because a lot of people go, ooh, how do you teach? What are you doing? What? I mean,
yeah.
They because you can't write down the method. They're like, well, what's your method you're using?
Yeah.
It
depends on the situation. It depends on what this kid has experienced.
That might be Adler.
Before. Yeah. It depends on how old the kid is. It depends on what's happened in their life recently.
Sure.
There's all these other factors. But the goal is always what can I get this kid to learn?
And that's what I think they really realize, because when you say something off the cuff to them that is belonging to them, and they know, right?
Yeah.
Way before, it's like, you already know what they're going to do.
Yeah, you do that all the time where you like make it seem like you're reading their mind and they just look at you like, oh.
Right.
But it's so the way that you're able to do it is so effective, and your use of humor, and sarcasm, which I think a lot of teachers and educators shy away from, but it's so effective in talking on their level, and
I guess so. Yeah.
I've just I'm still, even after, working by your side for a decade, I'm still blown away at the way that you're able to connect with tough kids, kids that have been thrown out of schools, that have been sent home every day, like you said, and just because you're able to read them the way that you can, I've seen you change so many lives.
Well,
And
I've seen you change lives too. So, I don't want to sit here and take all that credit. I've seen you change lives too.
yeah, maybe a handful though compared to yours, but and it's hard. The other part, one, teaching, two, running a business, is you have to learn to toot your own horn a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not comfortable with being like, no, I'm damn good at what I do.
Yeah.
It's that's been a process too.
Yeah, because I look at parents and we say that but I say you can call me at 8 o'clock at night. You want to discuss what we did or how it went or whatever else?
Yeah. Having open communication.
Open communication.
Yep.
Because because we all you tell them and you already know you can look at the kid and go, okay, this is gonna be tough.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a hard road.
And you're like,
look, but I can do it.
Yeah, I've worked with a kid like this before. I'm not saying that they're all the same.
Right.
But here's what I tried, and let's talk about if it worked or not. Do you agree with that? If not, then let's see if we can find something different. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, and it's just this constant thing that we're always having to reevaluate about ourselves.
And we never had, we have open classrooms, so you can come in and sit with us anytime you want. If you're with us, right? And at first, some of the very, insecure, and they have every reason to be insecure or scared or nervous about what's going on. We see very little of it. Because when they come to pick up a child, right, our motto has always been, I'll talk to you. Just give me a second, and we will literally talk to you. We don't have teacher-parent conferences. We don't have conferences.
Because they're just ongoing all the time.
Because they're ongoing all the time, right? And I know everybody would say, well, that's a small place. Well, yeah, it's a small place. But I did that with 600 students, okay?
Yeah, you've always allowed parents to come in.
Yeah, always.
You would stay till way late.
Yeah, I didn't care.
Way after everybody else left to make sure that they were okay, and parents would come in and talk to you about some like hard stuff that these kids were facing.
Yeah, pretty deep things.
And suddenly you would snap out of being their English teacher to being like, okay, how do we get this kid's anger out?
Right.
Because apparently like the therapy wasn't helping, the medication isn't helping, all of these other things that they're told to try.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we just put it together and say, this is just a box. I don't know what's going to happen when we open it, but let's try this.
Yeah.
But you got to be consistent though. You got to be with what I'm doing there and what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even then, parents were asking me to come to their house. I was tutoring at people's houses.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can you come tutor here, or there? I'm like,
that only lasted a little while, and I'm like, this is not
sustainable. And that's when we started the summer program back where we were teaching.
Yep.
Yeah. So we actually opened up I'm like, why don't we have why isn't that already something that's already in place? Why don't we have, if they want to drop them off, can we use the school and have them drop off? And I guess
know, and we just threw that together.
We threw it together in 2 months.
Awesome.
It was like, was it 2 months even? I don't know.
No, it was like a month.
Yeah.
And we decided what we were going to do for the summer. So,
right.
Yeah, that's kind of a soft open to the thing that is Go and Grow and who we are, and what we try to do with the students that we work with. If ever, I will try to remember to do this at the end of every podcast. If you are interested in any of the services that Go and Grow offers, and you are in Great Falls or even anywhere in the state of Montana and you're comfortable with doing things remotely, you can check us out at gogrowtutor.com. And that's our website. You can send us an email from there. And
I've traveled all over the state too for IEPs.
Yeah, we always try to make it work.
Always.
So again, that's gogrowtutor.com. And you can kind of browse around and see what we do and contact us from there if you or anybody that you know could use a little bit of extra, a little boost in their educational experience. So
They just don't fit in that box.
if they just don't fit in the box,
They don't
then
fit in the box.
we're the ones you call. Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Teacher's Curse. We are so excited to bring you on this journey with us. Once again, I'm Annie.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're the Leather Barrows, and this is the Teacher's Curse.
You like all of our stuff back here, too?
Yeah, we spookified it.
We spook. I'll just go with that. Leather Barrows out.